Greetings, Starfighter. You are about to listen to the totally super awesome 80's Reboot Overdrive podcast. Always remember, no matter where you go, there you are. Ready, Player One.
I don't want to grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid. They got a million toys at Toys R Us that I can play with. I don't want to grow up. I'm a Toys R Us kid. They got the best for so much less. You really flip your lid. From bikes to trains to video games. It's the biggest toy store there is.
Gee whiz!
I don't want to grow up, 'cause baby, if I did, I couldn't be a Toys R Us kid. More games, more toys. Oh boy, I want to be a Toys R Us kid.
Welcome everybody for joining us. My name is Dave, and on the show today we've got Nick.
Hello.
And we got Scott.
Hi, everybody.
And what we're going to be doing is talking about 1980s toys. So there's going to be a lot of probably some tears shed because of some memories where we've, lost the accessories or broke some toys, and then or we've taken them out of the wrapper and then we figured out that if we would have left them mint, they would have been worth like $200 to $300 nowadays. So there's going to be some grown men crying, I think, on this one. So definitely some great memories as we start to prepare for this topic. And we also got some great Twitter stuff to talk about also, because about 3 hours before we started recording, I tweeted out, I'm talking about 80s toys on the podcast tonight, and I asked for people to tweet their favorites back to us. I also included pictures. The pictures I included was a toy that was really near and dear to me, and that was Soundwave from the Transformers. But we also had the Millennium Falcon toy. I think that was the Jedi one. Yeah, Return of the Jedi. And Teddy Ruxpin and Cabbage Patch Kids.
Oh, Teddy Ruxpin.
Good times with Teddy Ruxpin.
Yep.
On a earlier podcast, I could have sworn we talked about Teddy Ruxpin a little bit about putting some cassettes in Teddy Ruxpin that were from heavy metal or something like that. So that always sounded like a fun experiment, but I don't think I ever did that. Did you guys do that?
I never did, but I remember. I do think you guys did touch on that on one of the episodes earlier, or one of the podcasts previously, just barely though. But I do remember. I remember hearing stuff about that, and that's pretty funny. Teddy Ruxpin is it was kind of creepy to me. It was like the beginning of AI, It's a little. I was a little old for it, but it was still. I still remember it. I mean, my little sister had one, so it was around the house. That's for sure.
I can imagine that there are probably many nightmares caused by that kind of. The bear's going to come to life. Yeah.
Well, you go back to that Twilight Zone with the doll. That keeps coming with and with Teddy Savalas, right? Telly Savalas on that one.
Yeah, I think it was actually. Yeah.
So anyway, it could get kind of creepy.
Well, what's funny is that, and even it's still a little true to this day. Like growing up, I had a real problem with things that skirted the uncanny valley, especially dolls whose eyes open and close, like the glass-eyed dolls.
Yeah, those are a little weird.
Yeah, as a little kid, you got me within 50 feet of one, and I would crab walk backwards. But Teddy Ruxpin, I don't know what it was. I didn't fear him, even when he started kind of losing himself. Like when his motor invariably burnt out, or the tapes just got over listened to. I didn't fear Teddy. I could never explain why. Might be different now, but maybe I was just really jazzed to have Teddy Ruxpin.
He was your buddy.
He was my buddy. He was, and I don't know. And I was the kind of the spoil kid, so I also had Grubby too. That was pretty awesome when you hooked them together, and they both talked.
So how'd that work? Did they interact with each other, or did you have to start the tapes at the same time?
No, what it was Teddy Ruxpin was the master. I guess you could say his computer was master drive, and you would hook them up through just regular plugs into each other, and Grubby's parts in the story, because you would tell the stories and everyone would speak their parts, and normally you just hear the parts, and Teddy would narrate himself. But if you had Grubby hooked up or any other of the toys hooked up, the toy would speak whenever their part was up. So they'd be like talking to each other. It was really neat.
So like story time, but you'd have, I don't know, Muppets talking, their parts.
Yeah, it sort of was, actually, yeah.
All right. That sounds really cool.
It was. As a little kid, it was pretty enthralling, because I think I had to have been 3 or 4 when that came out.
Yeah, I could see at that age that something like that would be just mesmerizing.
Yeah,
because you have a teddy bear that's talking to you and is your buddy, and then his buddy's talking with him. Yeah, that'd be really cool.
And yet, ironically, I was a teenager when Furbies came out. Those freaked me right the hell out. So, so figure that one out. I don't know.
So going back to the Transformer one, Soundwave was my favorite. Do you guys remember the Soundwave, the one that looked like a tape deck?
Did the tape deck work or
no?
No, it didn't. It just had his...
No, but it had little cassettes where you would have 2 or 3 extra the cassettes that would be able to change into like a...
Yeah, Ravage, Rumble, and...
there you go. I don't remember the names.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I liked him better because he had the extra stuff. But I mean, I had the Megatron that changed into the gun.
Yep.
Yeah, and then the Optimus Prime, of course. And I'm almost sure I had Jazz also. Jazz being the police car.
Yeah.
I don't remember having the Transformers. It was just a tad after I started growing up a little and getting into the video games more. But the Transformers, it makes me think of there's a bunch of different toys like that had all the different transformations that were all those Japanese influence, the anime from back then, like the Voltron. I do remember Voltron being a toy too, along with the cartoon series. I
don't know. I was lucky enough, I'm being somewhat sarcastic, to get a GoBot one year.
Yeah.
Sarcasm.
Actually, I will say that I did get one particularly cool GoBot toy, which was a working pair of binoculars, like real-size binoculars, that could also turn into a robot. That was probably the only cool thing GoBot's ever put out.
So it's kind of like a creepy spy toy at the same time being a robot.
Kind of, yeah, actually, yeah.
All right, well, very cool.
And of course, it was like no actual GoBot character. It was just a pair of binoculars that happened to sprout a robot head and feet.
And the only reason why I say creepy, the reason why I say creepy spy toy is because you're probably looking at your neighbors or something like that. So.
Well, there was a period in my young life where I was laid up. So yeah, I did kind of go rear window occasionally.
Yeah. Yep. First Twitter responder that we had is a guy named @RetroWaveDave, and he says Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle toys were his big thing as a kid, and they still actually are. LOL.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Donnie was my favorite. I always liked the computer guy, and I think Donatello was the one that had the bow, right?
Yeah, the bow.
Yeah, the bow staff. Did you guys have a favorite turtle?
I don't remember which one was which anymore. It's been so long since I've been...
Get off this podcast. You have to leave. No. That's not a proper response, dude.
Yeah, sorry.
No, which weapon was... Do you remember the one that... Which weapon? See if we can guess him.
Was it the nunchucks? Nunchucks.
Oh, yeah, Michelangelo.
There you go.
Michelangelo. That's what I was going to say, Michelangelo. But I wasn't totally sure of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know what? I'll tell you what. My wife was a huge Turtle fan.
Get her out
back
here.
In the day. Yeah.
What about you?
I'm
Nick?
only kidding.
No, that's cool.
What about you, Nick? What do you got? Do you have a favorite turtle?
Well, growing up, and it's gonna sound like I'm just copying, but it was weird. Like every kid in my class, with the exception of a few, really liked Michelangelo. I don't know if it was because he was a party dude or what, but you sort of follow the crowd. So yeah, your favorite turtle's Michelangelo for a while, but then I don't know. I got the Ninja Turtle NES game. For those of you who sadly remember that game, Donatello was the best character in that game because the staff had the greatest range. So then I became a Donatello fan.
Okay, so you changed gears after the game.
Yeah. Now,
All
what
right.
about you, Dave? Did you have a toy?
Yeah, Donnie. I had said I like Donnie because
Oh, yeah, I'm
he's
sorry.
the
Yeah.
computer guy.
Sorry, I was
Yeah.
distracted by things. Now, I don't know if any of you guys remember this, but the Turtles, the Turtles figures, even though they had really good points of articulation, at least for me, their legs would snap off with an alarming consistency.
I'm actually trying to remember if that happened with me or not. I probably was not
Maybe I was
as rough
rough.
with those as I
Yeah.
was with like my Empire Strikes Back figures.
Yeah, maybe I was just
Yeah.
a rough kid with the toys and just like to explore like how far you can go. But yeah, I have a legion of like paraplegic Ninja Turtle toys, no legs, and or Usagi Yojimbo. Did either of you guys have Usagi Yojimbo?
No, I did not.
He was an awesome toy because he came with like samurai armor, he had the swords and everything. Problem is that I liked him so much, his arm fell off to the elbow, his ear snapped off, and he lost both legs. So yeah, by the end of our tenure together, he was not a samurai any longer.
He was a shell of a man. Sorry.
No, we're talking about 80s Turtles. That's a pun they would have made.
This is true. That would have made it into the cartoon somehow. But I mean, that brings up some great points. I mean, I was pretty rough with some of my toys. Because I remember I had the Empire Strikes Back Darth Vader case.
Oh, nice.
And I had a bunch of the figures, and I actually was really pretty good with keeping them all together. And they had a little case in there where you could put like the extra guns and all that stuff, even like Yoda's, snake and whatnot. You'd be able to put it like in that little, it's not a drawer, but like a little place you can lock those stuff up. But then I started playing with some guys that were like not as careful with their toys, and then suddenly the stuff started missing.
Oh, yeah, I hated that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you start talking about the Star Wars figures, I was all over that. That was probably the biggest thing for me back then was definitely the Star Wars. I had every character you could imagine, and like you said earlier, it'd be nice if we would have kept them in the cases, because I know I would have just
so much now.
I'd have tons of money sitting there. And I had actually, I think you guys touched on this on an earlier podcast about the trading cards, the Star Wars trading cards. I had drawers full of those things. I wish I still had. They just disappeared after a while. But yeah, the Star Wars figures, I had all the Millennium Falcon, or was it the Millennium Falcon, or was it part of the Millennium Falcon? I can't remember. I know they did part of the Death Star, like a pie section of the Death Star, and you could, had an elevator in it, and you can go up and down, and had the pit for the
garbage pit.
Yeah, the garbage pit with the octopus thing, whatever was in there. Yeah. Oh, you even know the name of that. That's good. That's impressive.
Reboot Overdrive. Of course, I know that.
Okay. I'm usually pretty good with the Star Wars trivia, but that name escaped me. So yeah, that was definitely that was something that we just played with all the time. Me and my little brother and my buddy of mine, Jim. That Star Wars stuff was all we played with. And then the guns too, the Star Wars guns, the
blasters, and all that.
Yeah, the Han Solo. I had the Han Solo one, and that was awesome. And then the Stormtrooper ones.
The question is, did you shoot first?
I think I did shoot first because I don't think Greedo had a fast enough trigger finger.
Okay.
Now, did you guys have the lightsabers too, the toy ones that folded out?
Yeah, they extended.
Oh, yeah.
Those fell apart really fast, though.
Yeah, they were kind of cheap.
Yeah. One of the things I want to bring up real quick, I'm jumping off the Star Wars thing, but we were talking about the Transformers and kind of robotics, was do you guys remember the Big Track? It was early 80s, and it was like, it's a 6-wheel truck, like a moon vehicle, and it has a keypad and a bunch of buttons on the top of it.
Oh, Big Tracks.
Yeah, Big Track.
Was it Tracks or Track?
It just says, I'm looking at a picture of it right now. It's Track, Trak.
Oh, okay. But
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely remember that.
I had one of those. I didn't understand how it worked.
We love that thing, even though it really didn't work all that great all the time. You're talking about early, early robotics for toys, and then you go along with Armatron is right there with it.
That was my toy. The Armatron.
Yeah. Oh, you like the Armatron? Were you able to use it pretty good?
Oh, I got really good at it. Other than when the batteries would start dying because it took like 10,000 batteries.
Chew through the batteries.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden it would start dying out. And of course, you didn't have the replacement batteries in the house, and you still wanted to play with it. So you'd go, you'd be trying to mess with it, and it'd be like, and it's like, come on, please, come on, I want to pick up the little ball.
Or you just beg your parents.
Go buy batteries.
Yep, the bane of any parent's existence. Batteries not included.
Yep. I remember being at a friend's house one Christmas morning, and there were no batteries for the toys.
Oh God!
And so his uncle gave us like $100 bill, and back when you're a kid, $100 bill—that's just amazing.
All the money in the world,
right? That's you're filthy, stinking rich if somebody hands you $100 bill, and we had to ride our bikes up to like the 7-Eleven or something, or whatever was open on Christmas Day, and go get batteries for something. I can't remember what it was. I just remember the $100 bill and having to go get batteries with $100.
Yeah, I'm sure my batteries at 7-Eleven were going to be quite pricey too.
Yeah, even then.
Yeah,
yeah, that's
of like 15 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, batteries have come a long way. They can hold up quite well nowadays.
I always remember the cheapo like packaged in batteries that would come with the toy that would like give you a little taste of it, but you'd play with it for maybe a day, and then they carried like 15% of the power of a regular Duracell or Energizer or whatever, some no name battery. Yeah, I remember that.
That's pretty much every battery that Toys R Us has their label on.
Right.
So that's exactly what it means. You've got about a day of use. Have fun. Enjoy it while you can. Oh, by the way, we've got the alkalines over here.
Now, actually, I've got a question because I don't have kids. I mean, obviously, I grew up with a lot of little cousins, but now getting back to what we were talking about with like the Star Wars play sets, the Death Star, and all that. Mm-hmm. I know growing up, like I was a little old because I think Star Wars Mania had sort of died out when I was getting toys, and my big thing was Masters of the Universe and Ghostbusters. But yeah, they had like the big play sets. Do they still have that for kids' toys now? Like for action figures, do they have like the big put it together set?
I think they pretty much sold out to Lego. That's like Star Wars Lego is. They've got so many different things going on with Lego. It's amazing. Another great toy from growing up, I mean, loved the Legos. We used to get the full space station set up and this is when Lego was kind of primitive, by comparison to today. But I think they do make some of them. Actually, my wife bought me I don't know what the scale was, but the Millennium Falcon a couple years ago for Christmas.
You're talking about the Lego one?
No. This is a regular one. This is the action figures that came with it.
Right.
Han and Chewie. I think they were just a little bit bigger than the original action figures. Mm-hmm. So they were probably like, I don't know, 6 or 7 inches, 5, 6, 7 inches tall. And the Millennium Falcon was huge. It had to be, I don't know, 22 inches wide, 20. I mean, this thing was gigantic. I was trying to figure out a great place to put it in my basement, and I hung it from the ceiling at one point, but it was just it was so big. I had to move it, and then I ended up giving it to some friends that have some kids. We don't have any kids either, so. But but gave it to some kids that have or some friends that have some kids that are just Star Wars nuts still. It's amazing how that name has just carried on through generations now. And so, yeah, they must be making some other ones. If I had the Millennium Falcon just a couple of years ago.
Toys of that scale, I don't think they're as cool as they were back in the 80s, but then I'm biased.
Yep.
True.
But I mean, I remember maybe it's got to be maybe 8, 9, 10 years ago. My oldest daughter, she had like this Dora the Explorer playset, back when Dora was, as big as she was.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that being a pretty decent size and having, quite a lot of to do to get it together for Christmas morning for her.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they make things to that scale. But, like I said, with my biased opinion of toys in the 80s, they weren't as cool as, let's say, the Millennium Falcon.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Or, the Empire Strikes Back Bespin Cloud set or something like that.
Nice.
Yeah. Nice. Very nice.
So another Twitter that we got, and I know, Scott, you're going to be all over the choices on this one. This is at that fat lady S. She's picking strawberry shortcake and My Little Pony. So, as you guys do you guys know what a male, a older male, what they call My Little Pony fans? If you're like an adult male.
Yeah,
weird.
No, there's actually a nickname for those guys. They're called,
come on.
Yeah, they're called bronies.
Get out of here! Really?
It's true. Look it up.
Wow.
There's actually a subculture of, adult males that are into My Little Pony.
Now, to clarify, Scott, this isn't the 80s My Little Pony that we're talking about. This is the more modern My Little Pony Friendship is Magic that came out a few years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, different sort of animal in terms of tone. I mean, very, of course, My Little Pony, but different sort of tone than what we're thinking of with the 80s. That was very cutesy and sugary.
Ah, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So got a little bit. I don't want to say darker, but just a little more in depth of a story than just cutesy, Care Bearish like.
Exactly. Right. And for the record, I am not and have never been a brony. I'm just going to make a disclaimer on that. I have no issue with people.
Yeah, Nick, you sounded like you came a little defensive there. So
because it was invariably going to come up, and I figured I'd just nip that in the bud right now. I know things, but I don't know that many things. Okay.
But that fat lady S, she also mentioned strawberry shortcake, and for some reason, every time I hear strawberry shortcake, I know it's like the Raggedy Ann doll type look, but I'm always thinking of Lotso from Toy Story 3, because he smelled like strawberries.
Yeah.
Was.
Yeah.
I probably mentioned this in a couple of the podcasts, but I grew up in a neighborhood that was actually mostly girls, so whenever I needed to get babysat, I would, go over to the girls' house. I'd want to watch G.I. Joe. They're sitting there watching Gem. But they would have stuff like strawberry shortcake and everything. And, yeah, those things kind of reeked, actually, those toys. they all smelled like something. They all, like, they were all different baked goods. Yeah, they reeked, but they also made me hungry for actual baked goods.
Yeah, I think there was, what was it? Probably a blueberry in there somewhere, and peaches, and yeah, they really didn't smell anything like fruit, I don't think.
No.
My sister definitely had at least a couple of those. My sister's 7 years younger than me, so she's like perfect for that topic. The strawberry shortcake and My Little Pony. She had all that stuff. Oh, she also had, she had the Easy Bake Oven.
Oh, very cool.
And I used to steal the cake mixes from her and just eat the batter. Just mix it up with the water and just eat the batter and not let her make the cakes.
So easy bake oven with the little light bulb thing. So
yeah, that would easily burst into flames. I guess that was one of the problems they had with it.
I know that's so bad. And 80s stores were more fun because there was that element of danger
Oh, absolutely. The safety rules were way looser back then.
And I've got to say, Scott, it sounds like you know way more information about Strawberry Shortcake than you do about turtles.
You know, that's
Scott.
Did you catch that, Nick?
Yeah,
I did. Yes, Scott. Please tell us more.
Hey, I gave you everything I had on that one. That's it. That's all I got.
All right, so we got another. We actually had a string of tweets from Juha Loves Tia, and it's at Homer_Torelli. So I'm going to read all three together, and then we can just comment. It says, "Well, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were my faves when I was young. Even had the Turtle toy car truck. I even had the Bebop toy that at one point I lost it, and I tried real hard to find it, but I never did. Sad face. Oh, and Spider-Man toy I liked, and the Batman toy. But I guess Donatello from the Turtles was always my fave."
Okay, 3 for 3, Donatello.
Yeah, but the Turtle toy car truck, I never had that.
Perhaps they're talking about the Turtle Van?
Yeah.
Yep. I had friends who had that. That was one of the more big ticket items because it was one of the ones that was sold in like the big rectangular box. You know, it only looked a little bit like it looked on the show. They called it the Turtle Van on the show, but they called it the Party Wagon on the toy for whatever reason.
I know in the internet you always get the memes of like April driving it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. There was in the intro she'd be driving it, and yeah, I just remember the toy was cool. Like you could sit one of your turtles on the open door, and it was like a gun platform, and you could open up the top of it to pop the turtles in to like have them drive it, and it just had like little weird gun things on the top of the van. But that's really all I remember it having.
Okay. Now, was he the pig?
He was the pig. He was the wild boar henchman of the Shredder. Yep.
Okay.
Dropping a rock steady. Yeah, I didn't, like, I don't know, like, growing up I had a lot of the figures, but for whatever reason, my folks would never get me any of the vehicles. Maybe it's just because they didn't want to put it together. That's one thing I could think of.
You know, actually, he had another tweet here. So Homer just kept on going with this turtle theme. He says, "I remember my mom got me the Ninja Turtle sheets as well, and I took the stick from the broom and played Donatello outdoors."
Nice.
So I could just imagine Homer's mom being mad at him because she goes to like use her broom one day, and then all of a sudden it just falls apart.
Yep.
Right. So good for him.
You listening, and for those here who did, like, did you ever injure your friend trying to play Turtles? Just, you know, doing some, like, makeshift weaponry, kind of like the South Park thing, only, you know, less lethal weapon.
You know, it didn't have to be anything with the Turtles at all. It could have been anything, and we got injured all the time. You know, and that's what, you know, you're running around, you're like, what do we do? What do we do? Get some leaves to put on it or something. Rub some dirt in it, you know.
Get his mom.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's yeah. No, I remember playing or like watching karate movies, you know, you'd copy that just.
Oh yeah.
But the Turtles, they had the good moves, and I could definitely see where people would get maimed.
I remember, and it's strange that this memory would come back to me now, but I remember pulling like an antenna off an old toy and using that as like Leonardo's sword, and my friend and I are just kind of going back and forth, just, you know, like whacking at each other. I'm amazed one of us didn't end up in the hospital, but you know, there you go.
Yeah, I seem to remember some incidences with like the lightsabers, but they probably fell apart, you know, well before they did any damage, you know, like physical damage to a person. But it wasn't due to lack of trying, I don't think so. All right, so the next one we got is from Jeff Moses, and this is at Karyu Hirokin. Yeah, okay. And very dear to my heart, he jumps off with Thundercats. So Thundercats, Silverhawks, Masks.
Mask was cool. I liked the Mask toys because they could do.
Yeah, but Thundercats, you know, I mean, for, you know, those that are like the diehard 80's Reboot Overdrive fans know that was our first show ever.
First episode.
Yeah. So I was, you know, it's still in my mind the number one 80's cartoon.
Yep.
Yeah. So
that was and we got a good deal out of it afterwards too for who we got to talk to. So yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, you gotta bring up Larry Kenny. So,
yep.
Yeah. Not everybody gets to talk to Lionel. But the mask toys, those were cool too. So I mean, there was definitely some good stuff. I don't recall ever having a Silverhawk toy though.
I had a friend who had a Silverhawk toy, and I think they were actually die cast, or at least the covering was. Like the toys were plastic, but the armor was shiny.
Wow.
And their arms could fold out into like gliders. They weren't really aerodynamic, so they couldn't really fly, but you could pretend they did.
Well, much like many of those toys back then.
Exactly. You could just sort of huck them in the air and pretend they flew.
Right. But you didn't throw them that far because you wanted them to survive.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, Dave, you owned Thundercats toys? Because honestly, I don't remember any of what the 80s Thundercats toys looked like.
I remember what they looked like. I think I may have had just a Lion-O figure. I don't think I had them all. But I know there was the desire of having the Thunder Tank. Because I always wanted the Thunder Tank. But yeah, I mean, much like the toys back then that were kind of duplicating the cartoons, they looked close, but they were just a little off. Chitara could have looked a lot better.
Yeah. Yeah, like this weird off-model thing, like between the cartoons and the toys.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, just getting back to the Turtles really quick. Anyone who ever had the old, like the first generation Turtles figures, Shredder looked weird. Like, he had no shirt on, and he had the cape, and his bladed helmet didn't have a blade on it. It just had a little bump on it. And it was like the lamest looking Shredder. Eventually they came out with a more accurate Shredder, but yeah, he just looked so stupid. And I don't know like where they got that toy design from, looking at the cartoon.
For some reason, they just couldn't execute it right, to make, like modern day toys, if you look at some of the, I don't even know the toy line, but there's like some of these Batman figures that are just awesome,
Mm-hmm.
And if you would have had that from, back in the day with the Turtles, for instance, I mean, those would have been, to die for.
Yeah, we might as well have just been playing with rocks at the time. By comparison to the way that things are going now, some of the engineering that goes into these toys has got to be so intense. It's crazy how cool these toys are now.
But I figured something out in college that actually horrified me a little bit, because when I was in college, the early part of like the 21st century, there was this big 80s retro craze, kind of, and I don't know, they brought out a lot of like the old school like G.I. Joe figures, but like with the old style designs, like the Hooded Cobra Commander, Baroness Destro. There was that remake of the He-Man cartoon that came out with really awesome figures, and I bought Skeletor and his Panther. Yes, and but in doing so, I realized that they're not making these figures for kids. They're making them for idiots with disposable income like us to buy them and recapture their youth. And that's why like the Batman figures look awesome. Like, we wish we had Batman when we were kids. We could have them now.
Yeah, and in fact, exactly what you're saying, because when I had been looking at like the Batman figures that I was referencing, I was at like a comic book convention, and those things were going upwards of $60 to $70.
Mm-hmm.
Wow,
that's not a kid's toy.
No, you don't play with a $60, $70 toy.
Right. That's I'm going to put that on the shelf, and not let anybody touch it.
I remember the year I graduated, but 2004 college, it was the 20th anniversary of Transformers, and they came out with this beautiful, sculpted 20th anniversary Optimus Prime. He wasn't like a tiny figure. He was like a big, like a posable, like 12-inch statue-esque figure. Yeah, and it was like, and you look at it, you're like, oh yeah, that's gonna go on my shelf, and it's like $60, and you're like, second thought, no. I just got out of college.
Right. Yeah. Do I pay my student loan or do I get Optimus? I don't know.
And 2 minutes later, you're driving home with Optimus in your bag.
Yeah. You cushion it. You put a seatbelt on it.
Yeah. Oh no.
Make sure it doesn't get. Make sure there's no damage.
Good, buddy. Yeah.
Twitter handle at Johnny Worthless. He has a picture of this thing called Rocks and Bugs and Things.
Yeah, I saw that.
I never had this toy at all, but the box itself just looks awesome.
Oh, I see this.
Well, they definitely knew their audience. If they're catering to little boys who always love Rocks and Bugs and Things.
Rockadile Rock. So, yeah, I don't know anything about that toy, but I appreciate them tweeting that to us because that looks really cool.
And now I'm going to have to look that up now.
Yeah, I'm going to take their word for it that is indeed an 80s toy. Just something I obviously missed.
Johnny Worthless, he's got a couple of good pictures on there. The mini Star Wars.
Yeah, actually, I'm the next one that I was bringing out, the Black Star Tongo.
Oh, yep.
That looks awesome. Yeah, so Tongo. Let me see if I can get closer on that picture because my eyes are not what they used to be. The Leopard Man with glow in the dark sniper spear and weapons. And he's got an alien demon that comes with him. That is just so cool.
And I remember next to nothing about that show, so...
Cool toy nonetheless, though. At AA Wells 20, or Andrew Wells, picks my second favorite 80s cartoon, Visionaries.
That's the magical light.
Yeah, exactly. And you get any toy that's going to combine a hologram with like an action figure, I'm all in for that. But I started to realize as I've been doing this kind of resurgence of the 80s, I started to think about the timeline. And Visionaries came out in like 1987. Mm-hmm. That would have put me at 16 years old. And I'm still playing with action figures.
Oh. Don't feel bad, Dave. If you would see me at 16, you would feel much better about yourself.
But I love the Visionary action figures. I was all in for the cartoon. Mm-hmm. But he also brings up Dino Riders, Thundercats, Silverhawks, to name a few.
I totally forgot about Dino Riders. I remember those things now. That's pretty. That's a good call right there.
Like with Dino Riders, it was cool because even if you lost the figure and the armor, it didn't matter because you had a dinosaur to play with.
Yeah, actually, somebody tweeted a little bit later about that, and I thought that was a great story to talk about. Where somebody was talking about where they wanted the T-Rex, but it wasn't. They couldn't afford it, and what I did was I actually Googled it to look up to see, trying to figure out what it cost back then in the 80s, and I couldn't figure it out, but I found out the going rate for it now, if you were to buy that first generation T-Rex for Dino Riders, loose, just loose, it's going to be $250 to $300.
Wow, that's crazy.
Wow, God.
So I think on eBay I'd seen it for $299.99.
No, I do need food. $300 for a loot. Wow, it probably doesn't even have all the accessories with it either.
And the description actually said it was 99% complete. So I don't know, what does that mean? Is it missing like one of the shield pieces, or like I don't know. I don't know what that means. I didn't read that much into it, but yeah, I thought that was kind of crazy, and I could imagine somebody paying it.
Oh yeah, people pay outrageous amounts of money for a lot of that stuff nowadays. Sometimes it's just important to them.
And as you'd mentioned, Johnny Worthless did send us another pic via tweet, and he has the Bespin Cloud City. Looks like mini action figure Star Wars Empire Strike Back set, and you've got like the set where Han is being
Carbonite
into Carbonite, right? And then like the set where Luke is fighting Darth Vader and loses his hand.
That's a great picture. I love that. Those I remember the little ones too. It's funny how they started going. A lot of the toys started going mini, like the micro machines for cars. That was pretty cool too.
Yeah, you could see the little stands on their feet. Yeah, you could see the little
Yeah, like army men.
Yeah. Because I was gonna say, like with those play sets, could you actually move them, or was it kind of like Mighty Max, where you put them on like a little thing and you just kind of slid them around?
Yeah, I think they like their poses and everything stayed.
Yeah.
And you just moved them around to like different parts of the set. But like, they were pretty stationary, like army men.
Yeah.
I think
So-
if I recall, I think they had like little, like a kind of like a Lego peg that they could stand on. You could put them in a couple different spots where they wouldn't fall over as easily. Just like one little peg that you would put them on.
Okay, yeah.
Like there's a little hole in the bottom of one of their feet that it would fit onto a little peg that would just hold them. It didn't hold very well, but that's kind of what's coming back to me right now. I think that's the way it was set up with those little ones like that.
Oh, okay. And looking at the picture, you're right. I see a little peg like on one of the sets.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I love that stuff.
Yeah, thank you, Johnny Worthless, for the memories.
Yeah, Johnny's a good contributor here today. I still want to know more about this rocks and bugs and things. That's pretty sweet.
I know. I can't even tell what it's like. They're eating something, and I can't tell if those are supposed to be good guys or bad guys or what.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look this one up here.
Hungry Hunters with Hidden Horrors includes Morty's figure. And they're eating these little guys. Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, they're like little. Yeah, they're weird looking.
They're supposed to look. I think they're supposed to look like rocks, and then good mouth, and then eat you.
So it's like a rock transformer, basically.
Well, they had those
kind of thing.
called rock lords.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Wow, that one on the far left. There's a picture I'm looking at. It looks like a giant walnut almost.
It does.
Are you looking at the same one where the five are lined up in the
blue thing? Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
All right, so Johnny Worthless, what you're going to have to do is after you listen to our podcast here, you're going to have to tweet us and let us know how many of these things you had and which ones you had.
Yeah.
We have to know, Johnny.
We're really curious.
You've got us wondering now. So.
Yeah. I'm just looking through a few pictures here. One of the things that we have not touched on yet is Rubik's Cube.
Oh.
That was huge. And I remember not being able to do it, and then I see these people on TV doing it in like 32 seconds or something. I'm like, you got to be kidding me, man! How do you do that in 32 seconds?
Well, they had freaking college courses devoted to that.
Yeah, you know what? I remember that. I remember hearing about that. Why? It's got to be just a mathematical thing or something.
Yeah, hopefully they learned other lessons beyond the Rubik, but
yeah,
you guys are overthinking this way too much. Really.
You know what I learned?
You take the stickers off and you put them back on. Come on.
See, I learned to pop one of the corners off. You pop the whole thing off, take it apart, and put it back together. That's how I solved Rubik's Cube, but it took me more than 32 seconds.
I could see you breaking down the Rubik, like taking all three layers off and just sort of rolling it from there.
Yeah, that was fun. And then there were spin-offs of the Rubik's Cube too. You had there was one that was a pyramid that I had, and it was a pyramid. And you had to get all the triangle. You had to the corners were triangles, and it had how many sides is that? 4 sides. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4 sides.
And you had to bend them, right? You had to bend the corners. And...
No, that was. I think you're thinking of this. There was a snake thing that you could bend it into a ball or into different shapes.
Oh, okay.
Are you thinking? Is that what you're?
Maybe, or I was just thinking or maybe not bend, but twist the corners to get the right.
Yes, you would twist the corners to get to the right spot. Yeah.
I remember the pyramid. Yeah.
Yeah. Then they had a couple. They had the round Rubik, the Rubik sphere or something like that. Did you ever see that one?
I did. No. I never bought it, but I did see it.
Yeah, I had all those handheld, puzzle things, and then you look at that and think of some of the other handheld type games. I guess you could get into the whole Game Boy thing too, or Simon was a great one for that.
Oh, when I think of the tabletop games, or where they tried to make the mini version of the arcade games, the Donkey Kong, and the
those friggin' tiger ones, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Those flippin' tiger ones.
Yeah, they're bad.
I had
at the time they weren't though.
They were bad, but oh so good.
No ending. You just kept doing it until you got bored.
speaking of things that just popped in my brain, Stompers. Do you guys remember playing with Stompers?
Stompers.
They're
It sounds really familiar.
They're like little off-road cars that took like one AA or AAA battery, and you just turn them on and set them in their direction, and they're like off-road vehicles, but not that off-road. And yeah, that was pretty much it. That was the whole gist of it. They just went in a straight line.
So why were they called stomp? Because you had to like stomp down on the.
No, actually, I don't know why they were called Stompers.
Did they have like a launcher or something that you had to stomp down on, or?
The way I'm remembering, and I hope I'm not messing it up with another toy, but it was just, you put the battery in and you flip the switch to turn it on, and you just put it down, and it would just drive in a straight line, and it was just different off-road vehicles.
Yeah, it's like they got an old Ford Bronco, an old Jeep not a Wrangler, but I think they got a Wrangler. Yeah, they got a Wrangler too.
Right.
They got the old Jeep Wagoneer, and the thing is, I'm looking at them right now. I remember these now that you mention them, and now that I see them, they had these really beefy, spongy tires, and they were kind of all terrain, but like you said, they weren't really all terrain. But yeah, those were awesome cars. I loved those things. I used to play with the Hot Wheels and the Matchbox all the time.
Yeah. And
those fit right into that category.
Yeah, and there wasn't like a thick shag carpet. That's not off-road for that. It couldn't handle that. So.
While actually on that, while you mentioned the carpet, Dave, I have to bring this up because I know as a kid it used to annoy the hell out of me. Whenever they would show a toy commercial for anything, I don't know where those kids were, but they had the most awesome, like, backgrounds to play with their toys on. They were like in the mountains somewhere.
Oh yeah.
They were just in the appropriate backgrounds. And I'm sitting there on our family's like blue shag carpet, trying to really stretch my imagination that there's something. Yeah, and these kids in the commercials are just like on Venus or something.
Yeah, I remember that. They really knew how to stage those things. That's for sure.
Like they're Yoda figures, and they're it looked like Hoth or something like that or whatever. And you're like, it doesn't look like a swamp in my. Well, maybe I'll go play in the bathtub. I don't know.
or like with cars, like they'd show like the toy cars on like these like really like frictionless surfaces or cool tracks. Right. Yeah, you couldn't like play Matchbox on a shag carpet.
Right.
The cars barely moved. You couldn't get speed off of that. I'd use like a cutting board.
And of course, late 70s, early 80s, everybody had shag carpet.
Shag carpet, yeah. God.
Right.
And a panel basement rec room.
Yeah. Wood paneling. How can you go wrong?
I actually had a friend with a wood panel basement rec room, now that I think about it.
Yeah. Well, my grandparents had one. They had one of the rooms had that wood paneling, and that's where we hung out.
Yep.
It was good times.
Oh, memories.
Yeah.
This is where the tears come in, guys. Get ready.
Yeah.
Well, the tweet I was referring to earlier was from @ChrisMarsh 1983. And Dino Riders ! I always wanted the T-Rex, but my parents couldn't afford it. I can't now. #irony. And then Andrew Wells, AA Wells 20, responds, same situation, biggest I got was the Triceratops, befriended a neighbor just because he had the T-Rex. So yeah, good for them.
That's good stuff.
Well, when I turned 7 years old, my folks splurged and got me the Ghostbusters Proton Pack. And, it came with the blaster. It came with, like, a foam proton stream. And I had, like, the Ghostbuster uniform and the armband. I was feeling so awesome. And then I realized that I didn't have the trap. But my friend did. So anytime I went over to his house, I made sure to bring that proton pack. And even though I couldn't keep it, I would wear the trap just so I'd feel complete.
Yeah, now Ghostbusters, they're doing another one, right?
Yep, the sort of, I guess I guess it's a reboot or it might be a sequel. I don't know. Like a continuation. Those had some pretty awesome figures. If you guys remember any of those.
Oh yeah, I remember those. The ones that are based off of the real Ghostbusters cartoon.
Yeah.
Not the monkey one.
Oh, the Filmation one, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we could do an entire show on the Filmation cartoons, but yeah.
But I believe, and I remember hearing this somewhere, is that the Filmation one, those toys are more valuable now.
Because it was more obscure, maybe.
Yeah, it's more rare.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense.
So if you had the wind-up car with the big gorilla and all that, I guess you're going to be able to get more for them than you would, like, for instance, Winston or Venkman. Now,
did any of you guys have Ghostbuster toys? Like the real Ghostbuster toys?
I did not.
No, me either.
Yeah, they had, like, the best part of them was, like, they would have the originals, like, in the uniforms, just the standard ones, which were cool enough. But then, we'd talk about play sets, they had the firehouse. And you could slide him down the pole, and it came with, like, some ghosts on the walls. And a lot of the Ghostbuster play sets and figures came with ectoplasm. Like
the goop.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, it was like goop in a jar.
The green slime stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty much. It was like the predecessor to GAC. And did you guys own any toys with like that came with the like goopy stuff?
Oh, of course.
I don't remember a specific toy that came with it, but I do remember buying that slime stuff.
Yeah.
And it was like a nice bright green when you first open it up, but within within messing with it for a little while, it just got so gross and dirty. It was like, like silly putty. It turns a totally different color within a couple of days. And it gets like little chunks of dirt in it. And,
Yeah, I got just a little bit of that stuff on the carpet, and I never got to have any of that again.
That would do it.
No, my mom was so mad.
Yeah, that stuff, I can't imagine that would come out of the shag real easy.
No, and it never did. Like she got the color out, but there was always this one little tiny part of the carpet that was forever dry.
Oh wow!
because of the ectoplasm. I don't know what was in that, but I'm pretty sure it could be used by the military now.
Yeah, we probably really don't want to know. It's a lot of chemicals, I'm sure.
I just want to mention that at Tristan Lofting, they said that they had watched Black Star back in the day, loved it, but had no idea the action figures had been made. I thought that was kind of a cool comment.
Yeah, a lot of cartoons, especially like the syndicated ones, you never really knew if they had figures or not until you saw it. But now, what's funny about a lot of that, though, I don't know if you guys know this, but He-Man was a figure set first before the cartoon.
Really?
Yeah, and I've heard rumors, yay or nay on the subject, but I heard that it was actually it started out based off of the Conan movie, but then either they lost the license or the company thought it was too violent to make a toy out of, and they retooled it into He-Man.
So they ripped off Conan.
Yep.
Completely. Okay.
And
Arnold must be upset about that.
Oh, I know. He missed out on the gravy train. Dolph Lundgren picked that up.
Oh, yeah.
But the original figures came with little mini comics, and in those, He-Man was like this barbarian hero. There wasn't like Eternia. He didn't have his. It was like He-Man and Skeletor was like from a race of Skeletor people. He wasn't, the Skeletor we know. He was like this part of an interdimensional race of Skeletor people who wanted to take over He-Man's jungle land. And that's what it started out as. And then when the cartoon came out, they had the whole different story for it.
That's cool.
Yeah. So it's weird how different things could evolve. I think they get a license, they get something that looks cool, and then they build a line around it.
Right. Even though having a army of Skeletorish type people would be kind of cool.
I know, right? That's a totally underused idea.
Exactly.
Yeah, they could really make something out of that. That would be pretty sweet. That would be pretty cool to watch.
Especially if they all sound like Skeletor.
Yes.
They all have the same voice, even the women. What's up, He-Man?
This is actually kind of funny. The At That Fat Lady S tweeted again, and she said, I desperately wanted a Cabbage Patch Kid. My mom couldn't afford it, and I got a cauliflower patch kid. I love that.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah, I see that one here. That's good. Yeah, the Cabbage Patch Kid. I could not believe at the time how popular that was. That was a phenomenon that I don't recall ever seeing in the toy industry. I mean, everybody was waiting for the next Star Wars figure to come out, but when Cabbage Patch Kids hit the scene, that was unbelievable. How powerful that those people must have made just a ton of money at the time.
Well, did you ever see any of like the footage of like Black Friday near Christmas?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to bring up.
Yeah, they're fighting
like
over
stopping each other for Cabbage Patch dolls.
Yeah,
there was like physical violence for that.
So, how many Cabbage Patch Kids did you guys have?
One.
There you go.
I believe my sister had one. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I had one too.
Yeah, to this day, I don't know how my mom managed it. My uncle had connections somewhere, and I think he came through. But yeah, I don't think because she's still alive, I don't think she went to the store that day.
No, I don't. Yeah, I don't remember having it in the the heyday of that Christmas or whatever. But I just remember it being in the house. I don't remember what year I got it.
Yeah.
So.
But they came with like those adoption papers.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Birth certificate.
Mm-hmm. And so apparently, people record the births of the, mutant hybrid vegetable kids.
Now, were they named after what kind? Did they have regular names, or did they have?
They did. They had just regular kid names. Sort of.
Bob, Tony, and
Yeah. Bob, Tony, Frank. They were the Cabbage Patch guys. But,
the guys.
The guys. No. But
forget about it.
Yeah. But, they were just regular kid names, but it's it's your own little kid. And then they had the cartoons, and that was a whole weird kettle of fish. I had an audio tape of that, and even now, listen, because my mom found it when she was moving, and I listened to it years later, and I still have no idea what was going on with that.
Wait, you have audio of you have just the audio of a cartoon, of
they
a
would
Cabbage
do
Patch
that.
cartoon?
They would do that. It wouldn't necessarily be of the cartoon. It would be like a Cabbage Patch Christmas, and they would do Christmas songs. And but they would have an overarching story within the songs. And yes, I owned a Cabbage Patch Christmas, and yes, I listened to it every year up until I was about 20. Just whenever I would come home, I would just throw that on for grids. I'd just be like, nostalgia. But yeah, even then I had no idea what was going on.
Okay, now, wait a minute. Seriously, you give me a hard time about Valley Girl, and you're listening to Cabbage Patch?
Well, people know what Cabbage Patch Kids is, but no one knows what Valley Girl was.
Oh my God.
Hey, I gotta decide with Dave on this Valley Girl thing, buddy.
Oh, okay. So vengeance now. I'm getting double teamed now. Before
Nick Cage was very cool in that one.
See, Matt's not here to help you.
I was gonna say, Matt's not here to balance it out here. Fine, yes. And
great soundtrack.
Yep.
And
if she ever hears this, Mom, yes, I'm glad you kept the tape. Thank you.
That's something. I mean, that's something really cool to actually be able to say you have. Even as bizarre as it is, that it sounds to me, the Cabbage Patch Christmas. I mean, I got a couple of weird things that I picked up along the way. That I have a Star Wars Christmas album, the Christmas album. And not the holidays, not the video of the holiday, but that's totally different. This is a totally different podcast. That's those two subjects are a totally different podcast. So
and technically that was 78, so we don't have to deal with it.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. What is it? Was it C3? Didn't C3PO sing a Christmas song on that or something?
Don't remember. I didn't get to listen to the whole thing because I don't have a record player anymore.
Yeah.
All right. All our listeners, you'll have to listen to 70's Reboot Overdrive.
70's Groovy Overdrive.
There you go.
Yeah.
70's Groovy Overdrive. I love it. Nick will be your host.
Actually, I'd use Tubular Overdrive.
I could be a host for the 70s. I love the 70s stuff, man. I mean, I'm a big 80s guy too. That I think 80s definitely more than 70s, but I could easily, growing up at that time, also being a little bit older. Jeez, a little bit older. Yeah. So anyway.
All right,
back to toys.
Yeah, back to toys. Do you guys remember Exercise Barbie?
No.
No, me either.
Nope. Okay, good.
Moving on.
No, this is at Abby_Miller. So Lori here brings up Speak and Spell, Speak and Math, Atari, Nintendo, She-Ra, My Little Pony in brackets, and Stable. So we can't have the My Little Pony without Stable. Exercise Barbie, and of course, very cool game Battleship.
Oh yeah, that was a great.
Well, I had the electronic talking Battleship, so I win. But
electronic Battleship for the win.
Well, because electronic Battleship kept you honest. Because with regular Battleship, you could just be like, no, hit me, to move the ship. Sorry.
So
yeah, that was a great game.
That was a lot of fun. Skip Donahue, at Skip Donahue, he throws out Garbage Pail Kids, but I only remember those being collector cards.
Yeah, they were a card, and then a horrible movie. Yeah. But no, I had the cards. The cards were awesome until my mom found them and threw them out.
What? She just didn't like them?
Yeah. Well, yeah, they are. I mean, they are pretty disgusting, and
they are.
I was like, one of my neighbor friends gave it to me, and I must have been like 4, and she didn't want my delicate mind club. They were awesome. They were terrifying too. Some of them were pretty disturbing.
Yeah, there were some good ones in there. There were some pretty freaky ones. I remember I had a bunch of those things too. They were why we gravitated towards them is beyond me, because there were some really gross ones in there.
Well, I think it's just a natural kid urge to gravitate towards something that's not only kind of goopy and kind of out there, but it's something your parents hate. So obviously it must be awesome.
Yeah. One of our earlier shows, our co-host Mike, he was talking about these cards called Dinosaurs Attack, and I haven't really I didn't pay much attention to them until I looked them up, just because I was curious, and those were just really sickening.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't really look them up. What was sick about them?
Oh, they were, dinosaurs in modern day times, but the cards very graphically depicted ripping people apart.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And
nice.
Nice. Yeah, but I could see how, a parent of the 80s would go, oh my God.
Yeah.
What am I giving my kids?
Oh, wow. These are pretty hardcore.
Yeah.
That's radical.
Yeah, now I gotta look.
Oh my gosh!
Now you guys want them.
There's a T-Rex being blown to pieces by a girl with a bazooka. I mean, it's just weird.
Yeah, well, I mean, the dinosaurs are attacking. You got to have a bazooka.
Yeah, that's true. That's a handy weapon to have when dinosaurs attack.
But going off the collector cards here, Scott, your doppelganger. Compton 75 Scott.
Yes.
He wants to make sure we're bringing up action figures. So he brings up He-Man, G.I. Joe, Visionaries, etc.
Yeah, I definitely had G.I. Joe and the action figures from Star Wars, like we mentioned earlier. That was definitely that was probably that took up the largest section of my toy area. Whatever, maybe it was in a chest or something, I don't know. But the Star Wars and the action figures, not just the Star Wars, but like he's saying, the G.I. Joes, and then there was a couple others that were thrown in there too. Oh, I can't remember what spinoff they were.
I mean, the He-Man figures were pretty awesome. They were like one of those figure sets that had they each had different abilities that you could do. I don't know, anyone remember Ram Man?
Yeah.
Yep. He had spring-loaded legs, and you'd push him down, and you'd hit a switch, and he would just flip up. He would flip forward. Then Mechaneck, his neck extended, obviously. a toy that like every kid I knew who liked Masters of the Universe had. And do you remember Battle Damage Skeletor?
Vaguely.
He like it looked like regular Skeletor, but like you'd like whack this area in his chest, and it would like roll over, and it would be like a cut. You'd hit it again, and there'd be like 2 cuts, and you would like so you could like hit him with your He-Man figure, and it'd be like, oh no, Skeletor. And those had some pretty awesome play sets, like Snake Mountain.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing that one.
Yeah, that was cool because like you could pull the snake off the top of Snake Mountain, and it was like one of those like cheapo, non-electronic microphones that just echoed, you know?
Right.
And you could like and there was like a mountain face you could move, and you could like make him talk. That was like the only thing I remember about Snake Mountain.
And then when you saw those on the commercials, the kids always were playing it where it looked like they were in like some sort of volcano or something.
Yes, they were like in some smoky hellhole. And it was like they're in Eternia playing with Eternia figures, and it's like, oh, this is far less fun playing in a basement, but sure, I'll take it. Yeah.
So speaking of G.I. Joes, did you guys have any favorites?
As cliche as it may be, as a G.I. Joe fan, Cobra was awesome.
Cobra.
I remember really liking the Cobra battle pods, the little flying.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they had and they had the cool. Yeah, I think they had the cooler vehicles, to be honest.
Oh, they did.
Yep. I mean, we had the good guy G.I. Joes because we needed someone to fight Cobra. But if we could have, we would have just bought all Cobra. God, that's a good one. I was a fan of. I liked Destro because he had the metal head. Thought that was neat. And there were like 8 different variations on Cobra Commander.
I always liked the Dreadnoughts.
The Dreadnoughts,
Yeah.
Yeah, they were pretty cool. And the Dreadnoughts, and they had like the other like the sewer force or something. The Dreadnoughts were cool because you could just like buy a bunch of them and just like make them cannon fodder.
Now, do you guys remember anything called Sectars?
Sectar.
No, I saw that it was mentioned on the Twitter feed, but I don't. It doesn't ring a bell.
Really?
I saw an 80's commercial for Sectars, but I don't know what they are.
I gotta admit, really cool pick, but yeah, I don't know anything about him. Looked like a little bug guy with a sword.
Yes. I when I was like doing research for the Red Menace episode, I found this like quite literally 4-hour loop of 80's commercials, and while I was slowly burning my brain out on that, there was a commercial for those. They were like these bug soldiers. I mean, cool. You like bugs? You like action figures? Go for it.
Exactly. And then your tweets bore me. I love that Twitter handle. Your tweets bore me, and Matt D. So brings up Rubik's Cube, Mr. Microphone, Star Wars figures, cap guns that look like real guns.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Oh yeah, you couldn't get away with that now.
No, not at all.
Even the little, I remember the little rubbery little yellow pellets, borderline bullets.
Yep.
And cap guns or something. Yeah, they had little pellets that would. Actually, projectiles. They had projectiles.
I had a Rambo pellet gun that looked. I mean, it obviously had like little weird like shiny trim in some places, but beyond that, it looked for all the world like a 357.
Yeah.
Yeah. We whinge about how toys aren't as cool now as they are then, but that's actually a change I'm comfortable with.
Yeah, that can go a bad direction real easy.
Yeah, most definitely. And we're sitting here reminiscing about the good old days and everything like that. But yeah, you're right. The real gun look, I guess that's a thing that we can do without.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say this: the only time that annoys me is if I'm looking for like a Halloween costume, and it requires a gun, and I have to like buy a toy and like spray paint the front. That's the only time. But
wait, you use toys for that?
Yeah, I know. I'd rather not walk around with guns strapped to that body. It's a real bitch to put him in the wheelchair, but yeah.
Scott likes to walk around, when he's Halloween, trick or treating, like The Walking Dead, I think. So,
I am a zombie geek. That's for sure. Gotta love all the zombie movies. Anyway, I do have a machete that I carry around occasionally.
Oh, lovely, lovely.
So we got Jason Voorhees on our podcast now.
I was gonna say we're learning so much about you, Scott. I'm intrigued and slightly terrified now.
Yes, I like strawberry shortcake and machetes.
Oh wow!
Oh. Put those two together.
Friday the Bronies.
Yeah. Oh boy!
It's great. Yeah, my Friday the 13th. The 13th on My Little Pony.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
All right, so other ones that I was remembering as I was collecting a few pictures, Viewmaster.
Mm-hmm. Oh, those were fun.
Yeah, I always enjoy looking through the Viewmaster and getting the ones that were related to the movies, and they had that really cool effect looking, so it's like 3D-ish. It was really cool.
Yeah, I remember the 3D Viewmaster.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever have any of those that came with the tapes that you'd listen along with the Viewmaster?
No. I don't remember that at all.
Sort of like
I recall it. But I don't think I had any.
Yeah, I don't know. Like the only one I remember is that it was a Bugs Bunny Viewmaster, and it had a tape, and it was actually a recording of a real Bugs Bunny cartoon, and they just put it to a tape. But each time they wanted you to flip the Viewmaster to get a new image, you'd hear a little beep, and you just flip, and you'd go along with the tape.
So it's a lot like the read-along storybooks.
Yep, or like film strips in school that they would show us.
Right.
Okay. All right. Well, that's cool.
Yeah, it was pretty neat. But yeah, they would have stories to go along with the movies. I remember they used to bring those out all the time. You like DT? Now look at these still images.
Yeah.
And the only other one that I felt compelled to bring up was Mad Balls. You guys remember the goofy-looking, like, squishy balls that just had, like, really distorted, goofy figures? And...
They were foam. I remember that. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, I remember those.
Yeah, my cousins had those.
I remember pelting my brother a couple times with those.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they were foamy, and you could totally just go off on them, and it would hurt, but you could...
You could whip it as hard as you could, and it wouldn't do any damage.
Yep, it might sting like no one's business, but yeah, no damage.
Yeah.
And then you could torment girls with it because, you didn't want them too close to you to have cooties or something.
Mad balls.
All right, so what are we forgetting? What do you guys want to talk about?
Everything had a figure in the 80s, so we're probably missing quite a few.
Yeah, there's a lot of action figures.
We talked about Visionaries. They were awesome. Turtles, Ghostbusters. Well, like any other big 80s franchises that we're missing?
Did Star Trek have? They had some too, didn't they?
Yeah, but like Star Trek didn't have its like super renaissance until like the late 80s.
Right.
Generation came back. No, they didn't really have any like super cool figures. Probably get like some dollar store type figure. But what about just some fun stuff like what about remote control cars and trucks? Those were huge.
Oh, I had a pretty cool one of those. I had a Volkswagen Bug.
Nice.
That was remote control. It was pretty cool. I lived out in Southern California, so that's popular out there.
I had a Lamborghini.
Nice.
Yes. So Cannonball Run all the way, man.
Nice.
Nice.
And did you and your friends have like RC car races?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, most definitely. But once again, the car being the Lamborghini, it's not like you were off-roading it all. So you had to have a very clear, pavement, stretch of road or sidewalk. Hopefully it wasn't a pebble in the way.
Yeah, I was more into the off-road ones. A friend of mine just across the street, his mom let him do whatever he wanted in the backyard. So we made a full track in the backyard, and we just went to town on that thing all the time. That was pretty fun. That's a good memory. I totally forgot about that. Wow. Thanks for bringing that up.
You're welcome.
Awesome.
I remember we lived in a big long street with just really flat roads. So what we would do is we would race the cars, but we would race them until they actually got out of range of the signal, and whichever car stopped first was the loser.
Well, either they would stop or they would just go nuts.
Yeah, or they would just
completely
go
off. Yeah, they'd just go totally nuts. Yeah.
Great memories.
And actually, on that note, because I would kill myself if we forgot about this. Power Wheels. Was I the only one young enough to appreciate Power Wheels?
Power Wheels.
They were the little kid-sized cars that you could actually drive that were like battery powered.
Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about. Were those the 80s?
Yeah, those were 80s. Yeah.
Okay.
Really?
Yep.
Late 80s, maybe.
Mid to late 80s.
Mid to late.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been my cup of tea. I think I could justify playing with the action figures, but I don't think that would have worked for me.
No, they
started
to a certain size kid.
Yeah, I started driving in '84.
Okay. Well,
yeah, I didn't need the toy cars anymore.
I started walking in '84, so yeah.
Yeah, Power Wheels would have been up your alley.
But no, I liked those because you could go places and it was like you just drive all over the place, with parental supervision, of course, until you drove away from your parents when they weren't looking. But I never actually got to own one. Mom insisted that I have a bike for exercise.
Great memories. Well, speaking of moms, I want to thank my mom if she ever does listen to a podcast.
Oh.
I want, every Christmas, what she would do is she would give us the JCPenney catalog and have us circle.
Oh wow!
And circle what it is that we wanted. And that's how I got the majority of my Empire Strikes Back action figures because, of course, she wouldn't know which ones I had and which ones I didn't have.
That's actually a really good idea.
So, I remember that very fondly every year going through the JCPenney catalog with a pen and marking up what it was I wanted and folding the page out so she can easily find it again. And
Yep. Yeah, that was my experience also. Mm-hmm. My parents gave us the either the pennies or the Sears or something. Just those big thick catalogs when they actually did that.
I was going to say another 80s thing that doesn't exist now anymore.
Right.
the big Mother Honk catalogs with bad black and white images of your favorite stuff.
Yeah.
No, actually, if I remember right, they were like full color.
Yeah, some of them. Yeah, the bigger ones were color.
Yeah.
The Sears and the pennies.
Oh, well, I couldn't even begin to remember.
Right.
We've actually talked for quite a while.
Yeah.
Toys
are awesome.
Toys are great.
It's amazing how a lot of the memories come flooding back to you once you start talking about it and start looking at some of these pictures, man. There's these things called muscles. You ever seen them? The little mini guys?
Yeah.
Now, they show a picture here of they're all pink.
They are.
I thought they were different colors. I thought they had different colored ones. But I'm remembering the little ones.
Yeah.
They're all pink?
Yeah, the ones I had were pink. They were like the little wrestling guys, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it was like an acronym. So it was M.U.
Oh, yeah, must. Yeah. That was based off of a Japanese show, actually. I forget what it's called. Someone probably could tell us. But yeah, that was based off of like a Japanese adventure show. And I don't think we actually got the show here, but we got the toys.
Yeah, and they were only like about an inch tall. They were tiny, right?
Yep. So you could like buy a whole bag of them, and
yeah.
And another memory.
Yep. There we go.
Here comes the myself. But Teddy Ruxpin is somewhere in the garage, and I gotta find it.
Gotta find you, Teddy. Your buddy.
Actually,
Teddy.
My this past weekend, I actually helped my mom move. She's moving to North Carolina this week, and she said Teddy Ruxpin is somewhere in a storage unit now. So, but I'm the one paying at that storage unit, so I know he's safe.
All right, Nick, you gotta go save him, man.
I know. I gotta get to Vermont sometime and just dig in there, and just be like, "I'm coming, Teddy."
Don't worry, buddy.
I'm gonna find a gadget repair guy, repair your tape deck, and we're gonna rock. Put an MP3 player in there, man. We're gonna hang.
Oh, that would be cool, wouldn't it?
So, look it up. I bet someone has done it. I totally bet someone has installed an MP3 player in Teddy Ruxpin.
Someone's done a retro mod of Teddy for an MP3 player. Oh, that would be awesome.
Yep, and if not, someone get on that. Anyone listening at any slight technical skill, get on that now. You'll make a mint.
Yeah, all we're asking you to do is build just like an iPhone dock that you can put your iPhone in.
Yep, we'll somehow make Teddy's mouth move if you got something planned.
That's all we're asking. It's not like we're asking for a lot. So
yeah.
But this, the sad thing is we joke that it's a lot to do, but if someone did do that, someone would buy it within 5 minutes.
Oh, absolutely.
And anybody that takes that idea and runs with it, remember to send proceeds to 80's Reboot Overdrive. Thank you very much.
Yep.
All right, so we really should wrap this up. So, Scott, where can people find you?
Oh, on Twitter at Scott's Eye.
And that's I with
like my eye.
Yeah, like EYE. And then Nick, you're on Twitter now, aren't you?
I am on Twitter. I finally came kicking and screaming into the 21st century. I'm actually under William Crow at Wheel I Am Crow. It's all one word. I'm on the 80s reboot list. You'll probably find me.
Sweet.
So if anyone wants to actually care what I have to say beyond the podcast.
Yeah, so send all your hate tweets about Valley Girl to Will I Am Crow.
Yep, and it's not spelled like Will I Am like the musician. It's just all one word.
There you go.
Yep, but and also any questions you might have about a Couch Patch Christmas, I am totally willing to say.
Perfect. And of course, I take care of the 80s Reboot Twitter, so it's at 80s Reboot. And then, of course, we've got our Tumblr account, which is tumblr.com/80s Reboot. And don't forget our Facebook page, facebook.com/80s Reboot. So with that, it's just been super awesome to relive all these great memories. The Twitter people helped us with so many great memories, and then just talking through, and just great stuff, guys.
Yeah, thank you very much, everyone.
Yes, it was a great conversation. This was good times. Good memories, good times.
All right, and so good night.
All right, good night.
Happy birthday, Teddy! What is it? It's Robbie! Robbie!
There's nothing in the world like a good friend.
You can say that again. Oh, Teddy Ruxpin is my friend.
And Grubby's my friend too.
That's me.
Teddy Ruxpin's pal Grubby, the best friend for your best friend.
We hope you've enjoyed this show. This podcast is part of the 80s Reboot Overdrive channel on Southgate Media Group. You can follow us on Facebook on the 80s Reboot group page. We're also on Twitter and Tumblr at 80s Reboot. We invite you to check out all the wonderful podcasts and blogs available at southgatemediagroup.com. And thank you for reliving the 80s.